Welcome to Recap King. In this video, we will explain Hellbound Part 1. This series tells the story of people who hear predictions on when they will die. When that time comes, a Grim Reaper appears in front of them and kills them. Can they escape the Grim Reaper? Let's find out in Hellbound Part 1. Hellbound begins by showing a group of people relaxing in a cafe while watching a video of a man named Jin-Soo who is the head of the New Truth Society. In the video, Jin-Soo explains a Grim Reaper who will appear before someone, say their name, and tell them when they will die. If the day of their death has arrived, then the Grim Reaper will come and will drag the person to hell. After that, the video footage changed and showed three big scary creatures believed to be Grim Reapers, targeting someone somewhere. Some people who watched the video thought that the incident was not a fabrication. On the other side of the restaurant, a man was sitting alone in a chair by the window. The man's face looked worried as he looked around him. He clutched his cell phone which showed the timepiece. When the minute on the clock changed, he trembled in fear as he closed his eyes. Just when he thought nothing had happened, suddenly there was a thunderous bang and the ground was shaking, along with the appearance of three Grim Reapers who barged into the restaurant and targeted the man. The man immediately flew away when one of the Grim Reapers attacked him, but he managed to get up and immediately rushed away. One Grim Reaper managed to catch up to the man and landed right in front of him. Not losing his mind, he then hid under the car. But of course, his attempts to hide from the Grim Reapers were in vain, for the man was then dragged out and tortured by the Grim Reapers before his soul was taken and his body charred to a skeleton. After completing their task, the Grim Reapers immediately left the scene by teleporting. The scene then switches to showing a Seoul City police detective named Jong-hoon. He entered the room where his colleagues were gathered and discussed about the man in the restaurant who died in a gruesome condition. His body was burned to the ground, leaving only a charred skeleton. Jong-hoon and everyone in the room witnessed how the man was tortured by the Grim Reapers and scorched to death. Most people who witnessed the incident then considered it as God's will. Although the police did not find any evidence at the crime scene that could lead the incident to be a murder case, the police chief still asked his men to continue investigating and ordered Jong-hoon and his partner, Yoon-bio, to investigate the New Truth Society, which happened to be having a meeting near the crime scene. While on the way, Yoon-bio tells his partner that their investigation may be in vain because the case is related to things beyond human understanding, where the killers in this case are Grim Reapers, not humans. Even so, Jong-hoon says that they should still investigate the case and catch the killer since it's the police's job. After they finished investigating the crime scene, Jong-hoon and Yoon-bio then went to the New Truth Society meeting, which was not far from there. At the meeting, New Truth was showing videos of the Grim Reaper in action, where his followers were seen kneeling and praying when they saw the video. After that, they meet Jin-soo and intend to interview him regarding the actions of the Grim Reapers. Jin-soo smiles brightly in response to the wishes of the police who want to investigate the actions of the Grim Reapers. According to him, it is tantamount to not believing in God's punishment for sinners. Even so, Jin-soo remains cooperative with the police who want to investigate the case. In the middle of their conversation, Jong-hoon accidentally sees his daughter Hee-young, who turns out to be a member of the New Truth Society. Jong-hoon then goes to his daughter and scolds her, but Hee-young doesn't explain further why she joined the New Truth Society and instead leaves her father. Since Jin-soo said he had an appointment elsewhere after the meeting, Jong-hoon and Yoon-bio interviewed him on the way. They board the train and Jin-soo says that he wants to end his own life. Jin-soo says that he wanted to kill himself in the past but didn't want anyone else to find his body. Therefore, he goes to mainland Tibet and intends to end his life there. However, there he instead met Grim Reapers who were scorching a human to death. From then on, he found the meaning of life and was determined to live his life better. He then forms the New Truth Society to warn humanity of God's punishment to wisely live their lives. Jong-hoon, who heard Jin-soo's story, then laughed because again Jin-soo mentioned about God's punishment. Jin-soo then tells Jong-hoon that he learned from Hee-young about the death of his wife who was murdered years ago. Jin-soo then asks him if laws made by humans can be more just than God's laws. Hearing that question, Jong-hoon is silent, because in fact, the perpetrator of his wife's murder was instead given a light sentence, which according to him the sentence was not commensurate with the great crime he had committed. The scene then switches and shows a woman named Young-za. Young-za is a single mother who has to raise her two children alone. One night, Young-za, who had just arrived at her house, was surprised by her two children who had prepared a simple birthday celebration with a tart. She feels very happy because her children consider her and give her a nice birthday surprise. However, her happiness vanishes in an instant when a Grim Reaper appears and informs her that she will die in 5 days. The next day, Jong-hoon gets a report from a man who claims to have been molested by a group of young people. The abuse was recorded and spread on the internet, then discussed live by a man claiming to be a member of the Arrowhead. It didn't take long for him to catch the perpetrators of the persecution, who turned out to be followers of the Arrowhead who claimed to be a radical New Truth support group. The group would not hesitate to commit violence against anyone who opposed the teachings of the New Truth Society. On the other hand, Hai-jin, a woman who works as a lawyer, rushes into her office after her colleague, Young-ho, informs her that an important client is waiting for her inside. It turns out that the client is Young-za, who says that she will die in 5 days and go to hell. Young-za then shows a video recording of the appearance of a Grim Reaper that her son accidentally recorded. Before meeting Hai-jin, Young-za had already visited Jin-soo and told him about the appearance of a Grim Reaper who told her that she would die in 5 days. Despite being unable to do anything to prevent Young-za's death, and saying that the death message came from God, Jin-soo offers her 3 billion won if she is willing to broadcast her execution live. Young-za accepts Jin-soo's offer, then goes to Hai-jin and intends to appoint her in charge of the money so that later it can be passed on to her children. Hai-jin, who thinks rationally, considers the death message that Young-za received as a death threat from someone. She then calls Jong-hoon to discuss the matter. Hai-jin and Jong-hoon agree to meet at Young-za's house, along with Jin-soo, who came with a check for 3 billion won. After finishing taking care of the necessary documents, Jin-soo, who was curious about what sin Young-za had committed so that she became the target of the Grim Reaper, then asked about her family background because he did not see a father figure in that family. Jin-soo assumes that Young-za killed her husband for insurance money or had children from a married man. Hai-jin noticed that Young-za looked uncomfortable with Jin-soo's question, then asked her not to answer questions. But Young-za is still willing to answer and informs that her 2 children were born to different fathers. She then asks Hai-jin to help her take her children to a safe place after she dies. Hai-jin promises to send her children to her cousin who lives in Canada and ensure their lives are guaranteed there. The scene then switches, showing the man from the Arrowhead who is live streaming and discussing New Truth and the appearance of the Grim Reaper. Shortly after, it appears someone leaked information to the Arrowhead about Young-za, who is predicted to die in the next 5 days. Not only her name, the person even tells the face of Young-za and her 2 children and reveals the fact that she has a child out of wedlock and her 2 children were born to different fathers. Suddenly, the Arrowhead immediately revealed all the information about Young-za during a live stream that was watched by many people. It was finally revealed that the one who leaked information about Young-za to the Arrowhead was Yoon-bio, Jong-hoon's partner, who turned out to be a member of the Arrowhead. Jong-hoon, who just arrived at his house, can't find his daughter's whereabouts. He then calls Hee-young and asks where she is. Hee-young said that she was at her friend's house for group study. In fact, she is at Jin-soo's place. Jin-soo then thanks Hee-young for joining New Truth. Feeling that he can be trusted, Hee-young then reveals that she was the cause of her mother's death. At that time, Hee-young, who was still a child, was asked by her mother to deliver her father's change of clothes. However, because she forgot, her mother finally delivered the change of clothes, so the murder occurred. After that tragic incident, she always feels guilty and thinks that her mother died because of her. Jin-soo heard Hee-young's confession, then hugged her and said that it wasn't her fault. He then promises her that he and New Truth will create a world with no more evil. After calling his daughter, Jong-hoon gets a notification that Young-za went viral on the internet because someone leaked her information to the Arrowhead. He then contacted Hai-jin to tell her about this so that she rushed to save Young-za's 2 children from the citizens who might act anarchy after knowing the big sin that she had committed. Getting a warning from Jong-hoon, Hai-jin immediately arranges a flight to Canada for Young-za's 2 children as quickly as possible, and they rush to the airport that night. Elsewhere, Hee-young and Jin-soo are seen spying on a man who turns out to be the one who killed her mother. Hee-young, who intends to avenge her mother's death, then follows the man silently and electrocutes him unconscious. After that, they take the man to a place where she again drugged him. When the man faints, they put him in an incinerator and burn him to death. Hee-young looks very satisfied that the culprit who killed her mother finally gets the punishment he deserves. The next day, the police and the media crew found the man's charred body. Because of the condition of the murderer's corpse, just like the execution of Grim Reaper, people increasingly believe in the truth of the New Truth teaching, which says that the Grim Reaper will come to punish sinners with painful torment. Residents who are fanatical about the teachings of New Truth even staged a demonstration in front of Young-za's house and warned her to immediately repent and confess her sins. It didn't stop there. Members of the Arrowhead even attacked the police station because they thought that the police did not believe in God's punishment and demanded that the police release members of the Arrowhead who were detained for abuse. The day of Young-za's execution arrives. All residents look very excited to witness the execution, both watching it live in front of Young-za's house or watching it through a live broadcast. The media crew are already getting ready to broadcast Young-za's execution live, as well as the police who secure the location and try to protect Young-za from anything that will attack her. Also seen the arrival of VIP guests who are donors of money 3 billion won to Young-za's house and occupy a seat in the front row to witness the execution of the woman firsthand. While accompanying Young-za, Hae-jin gets a package sent by a priest named Kim Young-chul. However, Hae-jin did not immediately open the package because she was busy preparing everything. Near the time of her death, Young-za sits in a chair, waiting for the Grim Reapers to arrive. There was a loud bang at exactly 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and 3 Grim Reapers appeared there. Everyone can only be silent watching how the Grim Reaper tortured Young-za in such a way. Even the police, who had been assigned to protect Young-za, were made immobile by the Grim Reapers who brutally tortured her. Jong-hoon, surprised by the Grim Reaper's appearance, finally intervened to try to save Young-za by opening fire at the Grim Reaper. But his efforts are in vain because the Grim Reapers can easily knock him down until he collapses unconscious. After undergoing such grievous torture, Young-za's torture reaches its climax when the Grim Reaper take her life, during which she can only scream in pain until her voice finally disappears and her body is charred. After everything was over, everyone who witnessed Young-za's execution was frightened, immediately bowed down, and hoped God would forgive their sins. Only Hae-jin and her partner, Yeon-ho, don't seem to be prostrating themselves because they still can't come to terms with the tragic incident that just killed Young-za, which they think is not God's will, but murder. Even Hae-jin can't understand why people didn't do anything to save Young-za from the Grim Reapers and just sits in silence watching her executed in front of them. This is the end of Hellbound Part 1. Will the Grim Reapers strike again and kill more people? Find out in Hellbound Part 2.